got a good way to say thank God it's Friday, the 6th day of October, the first Friday in the new month, and we're now wrapping up the first trading week and into the first month of the fourth quarter of the year. I am Bosin Amafai. Thanks for everyone for joining us. We're live to you from Lagos, Channels Television, Nigeria's home for news and business news as well. So let's get started. Of course, the big news was the appointment of new folks into the affairs of the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's the new Deputy Governor at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Ms. Aisha Hamad. She was announced late yesterday evening by the presidency as the new Deputy Governor in the Central Bank. She's had about 20 years experience as a banking executive and an investment advisor, and she'll be replacing Dr. Mrs. Sarah Alade, who was on the board of the Central Bank as the Deputy Governor. Sarah Alade retired about 4 months ago after completing her tenure. Now, the woman who is replacing Sarah Alade on the board is the woman there, Aisha Hamad, and she'll be getting down into business as quickly as possible. Meantime, the president also appointed 4 independent members into the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee, as some members of the MPC are retiring in a few months' time. Then that includes Dr. Doyin Salami. A few of members of the MPC are retiring, and then the president made 4 new appointments. We'll be talking to those appointments next week. We're trying to unpack those 4 new members of the MPC and what will likely be their focus and their leaning. Would they be hawkish? Would they be dovish when they come on stream into the MPC team in January 2018? The final meeting of the MPC for 2017 in the 3rd week of November will have, of course, Mrs. Aisha Hamad in the team, but the independent members of the MPC will be resuming in January 2018, and their first meeting will be about that same month of the first month of the new year. So let's get into the business of budgeting, and it's looking a little bit very chaotic between the executive and the legislature. So let's give about 1 minute or so to slow this down and get you to understand this business of budgeting. It was on Tuesday this week that the ministers of finance and her counterpart in budget and national planning, Dioshona and Udoma, went to the National Assembly to meet the Senate Joint Committee on Appropriations and Finance. And after they had a Tuesday deliberations, the committee of the National Assembly sat down, and this was what they decided, and that's what they say. And that came out yesterday within 72 hours. What the Senate says yesterday. In summary, and we'll just try to summarize that for you. And of course, sitting at the head of that table is the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, and the Senate says the executive should not or must not roll over 60% of the capital projects of 2017 budget into 2018 budget if the plan to return to January to December budget calendar is to be achieved as proposed by the executive. Now, hold on a second. What the Senate was told by the Minister of Finance and the Budget Minister, the two of them, on Tuesday, was that the federal government, all the MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies, parastatals, will be asked to roll over or carry over 50 to 60% of all the capital projects they are not going to be able to finish off in 2017 into the 2018 budget. Now, the National Assembly, the Senate, says, no, that must not happen because it will make the 2018 budget, 1, overloaded, and 2, chaotic, and 3, of course, will be very difficult to get who is doing what projects has been pushed out there. And they said, no, there should be no carryover. 60% of 2017 capital projects not executed, carried into the new year. They want the executive to implement a totally brand new calendar year in 2018, the 1st of January. If that happens, remember, the National Assembly is expected to get the budget draft of 2018 this month. 3 weeks is left in the, this month for the executive, Buhari's administration, to make that promise happen to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly says if that happens, perhaps considerations and signing off on the document could happen by at least by midnight of December 31st, 2017. Secondly, the Senate also warned against selective implementation of the ongoing priority capital projects against the content of approved and assigned budget. Now, what that means is that the National Assembly, the Senate says, the federal government is carrying out priority projects implementation rather than following the letters of the budget of 2017. And that, they said, the Assembly says they're not comfortable with that practice in which budgets are now being prioritized rather than following what is contained in the appropriations document that was approved by the National Assembly. Thirdly, the federal government was also told to, or the executive was told to block all revenue leakages from MDAs and ensure that operating surpluses are remitted to the Consolidated Revenue Fund or account, and of course address the shortfall in personnel costs in MDAs. And they said that was because, one, budget error, two, unapproved employment exercise carried out by some MDAs, and that was alluded to on Tuesday by the finance minister, that a number of some ministries, departments and agencies carry out recruitment and retrenchment without authorization from the requisite agencies and the government. So that was also alluded to by the Senate, and that is creating problems for the government.